years after the negotiations in Paris with 2015, we're really expecting COP28 to be about that global stock take. And I think what's optimistic from our point of view is that there has been some progress. And if you think about how finance has been very central to some of the negotiations, certainly since COP26, it's really pleasing to see how important it stays as an agenda, and how in the last couple of years we've seen more frameworks and governance being put in place around supporting the transition to net zero through finance and private sector being involved. I think we're optimistic that there's going to be some key developments around the carbon markets, and we've seen a lot more focus on the integrity, and institutions like the Voluntary Carbon Markets Initiative and ICVCM establishing core carbon principles to give some shape and structure to the market. I think also with the launch of IFRS and the International Sustainability Standards Board, and having more accountability for disclosure standards, and levelling up the way in which data is reported on climate, I think is really important for both the corporates and the investors that are engaging. And another key area is around GFANs and the work that has been done there in setting out sort of the pathway for reporting on transition plans. And certainly in the UK, we've seen a lot more work there, where UK transition plans have now been set as mandatory, and frameworks that are in place there to support that raising of climate transition finance and understanding for investors. I think, in 2023 we've seen a real sort of adaptation around the attitude to raising finance through a sustainability lens. But I think if you look at some of the statistics, 80% of asset owners and asset managers are incorporating sustainability strategies into their investments and their portfolio mandates. So I think that really illustrates how important it remains for private finance. And what we're also seeing is just that growth in the green economy as well. So the market capitalisation of the green economy now stands at over $6.5 trillion. And so as a sector, it really sort of overshadows many other sectors on the markets, whether that would be in energy and some technology sectors. And so I think we're seeing much more of a shift of that growth of the green economy, but also I think the need to make sure that we are supporting those businesses that are transitioning to the low carbon economy as well. And I think there is definitely some course correction that you have seen from some portfolio managers around how they want to pivot and manage their funds, and there is obviously a bit of focus on how there is a need to avoid mitigating greenwashing risk. But I think what needs to happen is to reach those ambitions that are being set at a very high level, at a country level. There needs to be more finance flows that are going into those industries and those economies that are creating some of the innovative technologies that we need to help us to support to transition. I think what COP28 needs is more progress and more action when it comes to the financing and the funding. So I think it's positive to see some of the announcements that we have seen with the Loss and Damage Fund and many other initiatives that are coming through. But I think there needs to be more step up and commitment from other countries and organisations to look at ways at which they can work collaboratively and innovatively across different forms of finance, whether there's a lot of talk at COP about blended finance opportunities as well, and how the multilateral development banks, the World Bank and other organisations can be more committed in this area. I think there is a gap in some of the expectations between the global north and the global south in terms of the need to have a big focus on the just transition, and the expectations from many of those sort of indigenous communities and others that are looking to make sure that their rights are built into the funding that they can be able to access. So myself and colleagues at the London Stock Exchange Group have got a really packed schedule whilst we're here in Dubai for COP28. Today we've already had a breakfast that we've hosted at our offices for CEOs of global stock exchanges, and that was a really great opportunity to bring together leaders of those businesses that are providing the financial markets infrastructure to support the companies in their economies raising finance. And we were talking a lot about disclosure and also and data, and how important that data requirement is for both the companies and for the investors, and to help the capital flows. So I think there's lots more to come, I think, from how exchanges help those businesses on their markets. We've also got some engagements today with organisations that are involved in the African carbon markets, and we're part of some panels and discussions on the voluntary carbon markets in the Green Pavilion, and our CEO Julia Hoggett is part of a conversation with the UN Sustainable Stock Exchange Initiative today, with IOSCO and many other international representatives that will focus on the key point around disclosure, and that is something that is very much a call to action from our behalf at the London Stock Exchange, is to see ISSB standards becoming mandatory by 2025 on a global, economic-wide basis that doesn't just focus on private companies but public companies as well.